Many of us are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Using a pyramid as its model, the theory suggests that people's most basic needs must first be met before they are motivated to achieve higher level needs. At the base of the pyramid are physiological needs such as water and food. And once these basic needs are satisfied, people move up the pyramid to pursue satisfying higher level psychological needs until eventually they achieve the desired state of self-actualization. In some ways, we can draw parallels between this theory, which explains what individuals strive for in life, and overall performance significance, which measures the business practices that most strongly influence a company's overall performance score and rank in the Advantage program. We can group these business practices that our surveys capture into two categories. The first one being foundational building blocks that make up the base of the OPS pyramid, and the second grouping being priorities for excellence that make up the top of the pyramid. In many markets around the world that Advantage runs relationship benchmarking programs, foundational building block practices tend to be those practices that are more transactional and performance-oriented in nature. These types of practices tend to have lower OPS scores and ranks as they are considered baseline practices that all business partners are expected to perform at a respectable level. For example, in the AdvantageReport SUPPLIER, a program in which retailers rate their suppliers, practices such as order accuracy, on-time delivery, and margin levels are transactional practices that tend to have lower OPS scores and ranks. While in the AdvantageReport Retailer, a program in which suppliers rate the retail accounts that they do business with, practices such as in-store and on-shelf availability of products, efficient payment processes, and efficient supply chain are transactional practices that tend to have lower OPS scores and ranks. At the top of the OPS pyramid, priorities for excellence practices tend to be those that are more relationship and collaboration oriented. These practices tend to have higher OPS scores because they are ultimately what differentiates a business from its competitors and brings added value to the business relationship. For example, effective communication, trust, and responsive customer support are relationship-oriented practices that commonly have high OPS scores and ranks in the AdvantageReport SUPPLIER. While practices such as cooperation and trust, innovative products, and profitable business for both parties are relationship-type practices that tend to have higher OPS scores and ranks in the AdvantageReport Retailer. It is important to note that just because a practice has a relatively low OPS score, this does not mean that the practice is of low importance. If suppliers and retailers neglect the fundamental building block practices, these could be deal breakers in the relationship, as the expectation on the part of your business partners is that you perform well on these. In summary, it is only once you get the fundamentals right that you then have the building blocks in place to move up the relationship pyramid and distinguish and differentiate yourself as a best-in-class and valued partner to do business with.